Hey Guitar Geeks, Guitar Guts back. Today I'm going to show you how to change out your pickups without having to change to a new set of strings. I go through a lot of pickups trying to find good combinations, and sometimes I try stuff just because I'm bored. And if I had to resort to replacing the strings every time I did that, the cost would mount up fairly quickly. I mean, if we're talking about a normal set of strings like these XLs, you're looking at anywhere from $3.50 to $5 for a set of strings. And if you're talking about a specialty set like these MY XLs, it could run you anywhere from $9 to $11 for a set of strings. And I've been known to go through 5-6 pickup changes in a weekend, and that just wouldn't be very cost efficient if I had to replace the strings every time. There's an easy way to get around that, and some guitars are easier to do this on than others. I use this Paul Reed Smith guitar, which plays really well and sounds really good, as sort of a test bed instrument to test out new pickups in. It's all mahogany body, so it kind of gives me a feel of what a pickup would sound like in maybe another Paul Reed Smith with a mahogany body, or an SG, or maybe even a Les Paul. They have a maple cap on it, which could lend a little bit of a different tone to it. And I've also got this Tele Special, which I use as another test bed instrument. It's easy to change the pickup sound on. And I have other Paul Reed Smiths that have maple tops on them that I can do this same thing with. And the reason these are the easiest ones to use is because they don't have a pick guard here. The only thing that's holding the pickup in are the pickup rings here, and there's nothing else in your way. So all you really have to do is loosen the strings, and then you can pull those pickups out without having to remove the strings from the guitar. Now if you have a guitar with a pick guard on it, like this SG, where the pickups are mounted up under a pick guard, or this Ibanez, where the pickups are mounted up under a large pick guard, you can't do the same thing, because in order to get to the pickups underneath there, you have to lift this entire pick guard off to get to the underpinnings of it. So these are easier to use, but I'll show you a strategy for those other guitars too here in just a minute. With the ones that don't have a pick guard though, all you need to do is come up to the top of the guitar and loosen the strings. I usually like to give the bass strings about 7 turns, and the treble strings about 9 turns with a string winder, and that'll loosen it up about what you need to get up under the strings and work on the pickups. I always install either a piece of painter's tape or a capo on the first fret, and that just keeps the strings from flopping around. If you don't do that, they can flop up out of there and get in your way while you're working, and that keeps them pulled kind of tight on that end, and they won't come up out of the slots and unwind themselves more from the tuning posts. You can use painter's tape for that as well if you don't have a capo, and that holds everything secure on that end of the guitar. I have before installed another capo about halfway down the guitar to keep the strings from flopping around a little bit more, but then you have to unwind them a little bit more from the post, because you need to be able to pull up on them here at this end of the guitar. Now, before you start loosening the screws on the pickup ring, you'll need to go to the back of the guitar and do all the unsoldering work that you need to do from the switch back here, so that the pickup is loose in the cavity and you can pull it out. If you take the screws out of the pickup ring first and then turn your guitar over, that pickup is going to flop out of the socket, and it could bang around and scar your guitar. So once you get all the unsoldering done, you can loosen the screws in the pickup ring, and then that pickup should, while holding the strings up, that pickup should pick up right out of the slot. You can move it out, change it out, do whatever you need, put a new pickup back in, feed it through the cavities, and then reinstall it. And all that done without removing your strings. And the bridge pickup as well will come out of there. You might find that you need to give yourself a little bit more slack on the strings to get that bridge pickup out. And I also usually use a cloth right below the pickups in the direction that I'm pulling them, just so that when I pull the pickup up out of the cavity, I'm not banging it against the wood of the guitar and possibly scarring anything. I've also sometimes put a little tape there holding that rag down, just to keep from scarring up a good instrument. This one I don't worry about too much. I've already got several little dings and dents on it. And like I said, it's just a good test bed instrument. I use this one to test pickups that I'm thinking about using in a mahogany guitar or a shorter scale guitar, and it gives me a good feel for what the pickup's going to do before I start messing around with my better guitars and, you know, risking putting a dent in them. If I want to install something in a longer scale guitar, 25 or 25 and a half inch scale, an alder body, or maybe a RG, I'll try it in this Tele Special because it's got an alder body and a longer scale, and I can still do the same pickup change out of this one, and I can also test single coil net pickups in this one. Same thing goes for the Mapletop Paul Reed Smith SE245 here. I can get those pickups out really easy and change those out. It's more of a Les Paul style guitar. Now, those are the easiest ones to mod, but sometimes you do need to do the same thing with guitars that that have pick guards on them, and just giving yourself a little bit of slack like we did down here on this guitar is not going to give you enough clearance to pull that entire pick guard up and get under it. So you would have to take the strings completely off the guitar. But I've got a method for doing that too. It's not quite as simple, and it's a little frustrating until you learn a few little tricks to it. What I do is I take some blue painter's tape. This is low tack tape that won't leave much residue, and if there is some, you can easily just get it off with your fingers. And what I do is I feed that painter's tape through the strings. This is once I've got them loosened, about like I did with the other method. I feed that painter's tape through, pull it, and I will lap over the painter's tape from one end of the strings to the other, like that, and then squeeze that together. I give myself a little bit of a let me get my camera where I can aim at it for you. I give myself a little bit of a lip here so that I can pull it back apart. I don't want to tape the tape completely to itself. I want to give myself a little bit of pull where I can get that back apart. So I fold that down. So I've got that lip there. Now you can uninstall your strings completely, and you can lift that off of the guitar, and I just lay it down toward the other end of the guitar down into the floor. Work on the pickups here, and then I pick up the strings as a whole unit, and I lay them back across, and then you have to reinstall them, which is, you know, it takes a little bit of coordination to do that. But with this painter's tape method, you don't have to waste an entire set of strings. It'll save you from having to buy a new set. When I get them back in position, I can take the tape off one string at a time, and that keeps the strings from getting tangled around each other so much. That's the problem with just yanking the strings off and laying them in the floor. They'll get wound up in knots that you cannot get undone. But as you install each string one at a time, you simply pull a little bit more of the painter's tape, which reveals the next string, and then you're able to put them all back on and keep from getting in such a huge tangle. So there you have it, 2 methods for changing out pickups without having to lose a good set of strings. I hope that saves you a little bit of money and gives you the freedom to try a few pickups that you might not have otherwise. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them for us in the comment section. Thanks for watching.